As we move ahead, ladies and gentlemen, our next session takes us into the world of business that goes beyond numbers, where vision, values, and impact come together to shape meaningful organizations. This conversation will explore how leaders balance ambition with responsibility and create businesses that leave a lasting mark. To take this conversation ahead, may I invite Dilshad back on the stage, along with our distinguished speaker, Suhel Seth, author, speaker, actor, marketing maven, widely known for his perspectives on business, branding, media and public affairs, and for his engagement with contemporary social and economic debates. Please give him a huge round of applause, ladies and gentlemen.
Hello. Yes. Suhel, thank you so much for joining me again on a topic I know that's close to your heart as well, and we've spoken about this before, with a particular focus today again on a brand, on a company that has, in a sense, been a shiny example of what we talk about today as a purposeful brand. Suhel, what does it take to be a purposeful business and brand today, and what is that one thing that new brands, new businesses can learn from the Tata legacy?
Is this working?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I think the one word is empathy. Brands don't tend to be empathetic. A lot of people in the world of marketing and advertising and branding talk about, oh, we want to sell our brand, or we want to engage with the consumer. You have to engage with the community because the consumer is a microcosm of the community. The mistake that is made is we are only targeting consumers and we are not targeting the community. Communities are your biggest buffer should there be a problem with your brand. And brands can have issues. Communities tend to trust a company, not just a brand. A consumer only trusts a brand. So if I can create a bridge of trust, a bridge of empathy between company and community, the consumer is automatically taken care of. Well, I have my old line on marketing. No one buys a brand, they buy benefits. You don't buy Diageo, for instance. You buy Godawan because you want to have a splendid drink. Or you don't buy Colgate. You buy the whitest teeth. So people have to understand that brands have a unidimensional relationship with the consumer. A corporation has a multi-dimensional relationship with the community. As long as you do not understand the difference between the community and the consumer, you will have a problem.
And what is it, let's talk about leadership here. And we've always spoken about Mr. Ratan Tata, for instance, as an example of leadership, purposeful leadership. Give us your, three takeaways for today on what is it that we can learn from his style.
So let's go back to the founding of the House of Tata. Jamshedji Naseerwanji Tata was born in 1838. He died in 1904, the same year as the first Taj Hotel came into existence. But in 1892, Jamshedji Naseerwanji Tata gave away all his wealth to the trusts. So here's the thing. If you were to adjust for inflation, the amount of money that the Tata family has given away is $102 billion. So they're the world's, or at least the 20th century's, largest give-back group or give-back family. But in 1904, when the Taj was born, and in 1907, when Tata Steel came into existence, and, Jamshedji had two sons, Ratan and Dorab, on whose names the most important trusts are. You have to read a book by Francis Harris on the Tatas, and it very clearly says, when you plant trees, you plant for maybe 20, 40, 100 years. But when you plant human beings, you plant them for life. So I remember in 1990, GRD was alive, and there was a discussion on Tata Steel. And at that time, the company was called Tata Iron and Steel Company. So at that point in time, the discussion was, how do you create a corporate campaign which doesn't talk about steel? Because steel, you and I don't use, I mean, on a daily basis. It's a byproduct or a building product. That's how We Also Make Steel came along. But We Also Make Steel came along because Tata Steel was the first company in the world to have the following: a 5-day week, maternity leave, women on the shop floor, free medical for life. Who does these things? And where I feel that the House of Tata has continued to steer the course is successive leaders, JRD, Mr. Tata, Ratan, today Chandra. They've kept that, and Noel, in Tata Trust. So I think that relationship between community and corporation has stood us in good stead. And the 3 attributes to answer your specific question are empathy, engagement, and embellishment. You must be empathetic, you must always engage, and you must embellish what you do. Not with arrogance, not with a big statement, nothing. Now, today, if India has some level of cancer care, it is largely because of the Tata Trust. Today, if you have the scholarships, the kind that you have, it's again because of the Tata Trust. So, I'm saying it's not just that. Look at what Mukesh and Neeta Ambani have done. I remember many, many years ago, at that time we were talking about the Reliance Foundation. Mukesh said, "No, if you do good, you shouldn't talk about it." I said, "You must." Doing good is inspirational. You must talk about it. I was telling Devashish here from Diageo, they're doing Godawan, the proceeds of which go to, saving and protecting the great Indian bustard.
Yes.
These are important things. People must realize that companies are doing that kind of thing. I remember for Coca-Cola, I ran a line called Little Drops of Joy, where you were talking about the whole ecosystem of distribution and helping people who were specially abled. And this is what I believe is the, leitmotif of India. Remember, everyone praises Warren Buffett and, charity. Charity was first spoken about by Manu in Manu Smriti 3,900 years ago when he talked about Daan. Charity is not new to India. And earlier, family like the Birlas and so on used to build temples. Jamshedji Tata and then Dorab and Sir Ratan Tata, what did we do? We built the TIFR, the Indian Institute of Science in Bangalore, TIS, NCPA. These don't belong to you and me. They don't even belong to the Tatas. It is so ironic. Bombay Hospital, Tata Memorial, which was created by funding from the Tatas. Once I asked Mr. Tata, I said, someone wants a room. He says, we have no role there. I said, means? He says, we don't even have nominees. That is true empathy. When you allow people the freedom, the right to run these organizations, again with empathy and with purpose, which is why I love what you're doing. The purposeful economy is the only economy that can bridge an income and strata divide in this country, where the income and strata divide is huge. You have to understand, people don't realize the advantages of a purposeful economy.
Yes. Absolutely. But if there's one last question, given the absolutely phenomenal rise of Indian brands, Indian businesses, new age companies, a lot of homegrown platforms as well, what is it that a community, you were talking about, the values like empathy, which eventually go on to building a community and planting human beings, like you pointed out. How will that help brands today in a very volatile period? How will that help going forward?
So let's take an example which many people don't talk about. I do because, I'm not in the Tata, I'm not a Tata employee. When the whole issue with Cyrus Mistry happened, the entire mood in the community was in favor of Ratan Tata. Because we were seen as people who had planted the seeds of faith, empathy, and trust in a community without asking for anything in return. That works. In stages of crisis, it works. Look at what happened with Coca-Cola during the pesticide time, and Pepsi. Look at what happened with Nestle, when there was an issue with Maggie, or with Perrier, when traces of benzene were found in France. The thing, Dilshad, is brands must prepare for the worst, but engage always for the best. A brand cannot have motive, because that is contrary to being purposeful. Your motives shouldn't exist. Your value architecture should.
But tell me a quick one on what we're seeing right now, especially in the gig economy, where there's often a battle between brand narrative and what gig workers say and do. Any thoughts on that, Suhel?
See, I've written about it. I've spoken about it. There are two issues here. The gig workers, you and I may call them gig for jargonated terminology. They are workers. They are living and working for an income. They must be as well looked after as you would look after employees within your company. So let's say you're a Swiggy or a Zomato, whoever you are. That empathy must flow down. Like I even said during the time of the Indigo issue, that you had left the frontline staff of Indigo to fend for themselves. That is unfair to my mind. Forget what they did with the passengers. That's a separate, issue, and a lot has been written about it. But I'm a great believer, Dilshad, that brands, only when they understand communities, will they understand what level of empathy and where that empathy needs to be delivered. I've always hated the phrase CSR. CSR is mandated goodness. I believe in non-mandated goodness. Which is why when Sachin Pilot said, 2% cap, that was silly. Because, let's say companies like Tata's, which were actually giving back 9% or 10% of profit, were then asked by shareholders, or could be asked by shareholders, why are you not reducing it to 2%? Goodness must be encouraged. Goodness cannot be mandated. And goodness must be when every employee feels good. When you carry a Tata visiting card, you may not be the highest paid, but you'll be the highest respected. Sometimes respect has a better premium than salaries.
Well said. Non-mandated goodness. Thank you so much, Suhel, for joining us again. Pleasure chatting with you as always. Thank you.